balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic. Providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Trump is obviously, keeps smacking that frickin' leftist hornet's nest. And he's got another case in court now that another judge has issued an injunction on his choices, and his executive orders. Anyway, we'll get into that here in just a minute, but I also wanted to take a moment and talk a little bit about the snobbery that the left still exhibits even today after they got themselves shellacked at the polls. But anyway, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. Yeah. Florida legislators are in turmoil as well. It's a good shakeup. Don't get me wrong; it's all good, but yeah, it's it's definitely interesting to watch. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. 3 Chevy is on tap tonight for the Pledge of Allegiance, and so if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, place your hand over your heart. And let's follow along with 3 Chevy in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of course, thank you, 3 Chevy, for submitting that wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to hear your rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting it in your style, and then take that audio or video file, whatever file it is, and you can send it in to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. Yes, that is fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And tonight's headliner sponsor, theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt, all lowercase, all one word, .com. And you can get some patriotic gear. I'm wearing their Declaration of Independence shirt. In fact, the man in the photo back there is wearing it too. But apparently they have up to 50% off select patriotic gear. It's their end of January sale. I'm just going to tell you, January's over in a couple of days, so you may want to get on this quick. If you order $75 or more of their product, you will get free shipping also, like they always do. But I understand that not everybody can do that. And so, because of that, if you just want to get a little bit of money given back to you and taken off your order, all you have to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. So go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Once again, grab that coupon code that you're presented with, copy it, and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order on American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Oh, goodness. So, Pete Hegseth, of course, wasted no time pissing off the left. And he did it in a really weird way. One that, most people, when you serve, just going to point this out. But when you serve at an installation, when you go to your permanent duty station or whatever it is, and you head on over there and you learn the name of the place, it's kind of ingrained in your memory. For an example, okay, I served at Fort Hood, Texas. It is now called Fort Cavazos. At least I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Because the left went ahead and changed it during the last 4 years, and last four years because of the fact that many of the forts and military installations that we have are named after even people in the Confederate Army, like great generals, great generals that did great things regardless of which side they ended on. There were great generals on both sides, whether it was the Confederate side or the Union side. There were good generals all over the place. There were historical figures. And a lot of the military installations are named after these people. Okay? But the left couldn't do that because, oh my gosh, God forbid that there is a Confederate general name somewhere in our history that's being put out. Well, one of the things that you need to understand about some of us older military folks is that we don't necessarily switch over to the new names. Because, again, it's ingrained in our memory in a certain way. And this kind of is the same thing as what happened to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Now, Pete was giving a kind of we'll call it a press briefing, sort of. He ended up referring to Fort Liberty, that's what the new name is, as Fort Bragg. And this was after Monday. This was Monday after he was sworn in on the tie-breaking vote, tie broken by J.D. Vance, VP J.D. Vance, of course. And that particular base was originally named after General Braxton Bragg, and was renamed under the Biden administration because of the fact that Bragg's service in the Confederate Army occurred, during the Civil War. And again, this is something that the left seems to want to do. They have spent a lot of time and money trying to remove icons, references, and everything else to the Confederacy and the Confederate States. Now, when you look back on history and you see who actually was part of the Confederacy and the Confederate States, I can completely understand why they would like to erase their own history. Because the Democrats were the ones who did all of that. They were the ones that held slaves. They were the ones that created the KKK. They were the ones that fought against the Civil Rights Act. They were the ones that also fought against women voting. And all of that is what the left, over the course of the last 4 years, attempted to cover up and get rid of. Well, anyone who knows that these individuals that Donald Trump has been bringing in, they're not going to sit still by any of this. Not saying that Pete Hegseth actually had, or Secretary Hegseth actually had any intention of doing this. But yeah. So the exact statement was, every moment that I'm here, I'm thinking about the guys and gals in Guam, in Germany, at Fort Benning and Fort Bragg, on missile defense sites and aircraft carriers. Our job is lethality and readiness and war fighting. He said, we're going to hold people accountable. I know the chairman agrees with that. The lawful orders of the President of the United States will be executed inside this Defense Department swiftly and without excuse. He continued, we will be no better friend to our allies and no better adversary to those who want to test and try us. Yeah. So, and this is, of course, that's the first day. This was like his first day on the job. So Fort Benning, of course, was originally named after Confederate General Henry Louis Benning. It was also renamed under the previous administration. The new name apparently is Fort Moore. But anyway, in 2022, then Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin played a key role in implementing these name changes. At the time, Austin said, the names of these installations and facilities should inspire all those who call them home, fully reflect the history and values of the United States, and commemorate the best of the republic that we are sworn to protect. Well, wouldn't our history be part of the Civil War? I mean, one thing that the left seems to understand, or not, let me rephrase that. One thing the left seems to skip over and not understand is the fact that whether it's good or whether it's bad, it's all part of our history. As Morgan Freeman is so famously quoted off and on with regards to Black History Month, he doesn't want his history relegated to just a month. American history is Black history. And yeah, they just, they want to erase those. And this, honestly, if anybody who can recall has ever read the Orwell 1984, this is that he wrote about what the left exactly is doing and has been doing for many decades now. Attempting to modify language, attempting to make it into something that it's not, and to go and attempt to change our history. We have to remember things like the Civil War to understand and realize where we came from, why even today seceding from the Union is a big deal. So you guys just go ahead, get all upset over somebody saying Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, and of course, my lovable Fort Hood. Well, you know that comment that Trump has made about NATO and saying, hey, NATO needs to pay more. NATO needs to pay more. We're no longer going to put money into the pot over at NATO if they can't step up their amounts. And of course, there is a limit that is put up there with regards to the amount of gross domestic product that is supposed to be, by agreement, supposed to be put together and paid toward NATO. Well, this here in the National Pulse, NATO allies pledge 5% more defense spending based off of Trump pressure. So here we go, folks. We have a gentleman in the office who is not going to screw around. And yeah, Lithuania and Estonia are set to increase their defense spending to 5% of their GDP, becoming the first NATO members to commit to such levels. Lithuania's foreign minister, Kęstutis Budrys, I probably mincemeated that. Anyway, and Estonia's Prime Minister, Kristen Michael, made the announcements highlighting their country's focus on bolstering defense capabilities amid regional security concerns. And the decision, of course, aligns with the U.S. President Donald Trump's calls for NATO allies to boost military expenditures as the U.S. shifts its defense focus toward China and the Asia-Pacific regions, which it absolutely should, for all of that. So there you go. Trump has apparently won another one, which of course is causing the left to just go absolutely nuts. All right. So, I told you about J.D. Vance's first interview, on, I believe it's Face the Nation was what it was. And I played a little bit of the exchange between him and Margaret Brennan. But there was one thing that I kind of glossed over. And to be honest with you, I didn't really catch it. I wasn't really paying attention until another person of my type of persuasion, meaning a political commentator, went ahead and called it out today. And so I had to go and take a look, and sure enough, the Federalist has an article about it. Right here, you can see the Federalist is talking about it. CBS claims southern states are too poor and incompetent to handle disaster recovery without feds. Well, really, they kind of, that's pretty broad, saying that CBS claimed it, but it actually was that. So here's the clip. Take a listen, and you tell me.
FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have.
Oh,
and
Margaret,
in their arsenal. And
I wish
how
that
will states who are lower income states, the Mississippis, the Kentuckys, the Alabamas, be able to do this for themselves without federal help?
Well, the president, to be clear, is not saying we're going to leave anybody behind. He's saying that in the way that we administer these resources, some of which is coming from the federal level, some of which is coming from the state level, we've got to get the bureaucrats out of the way and get the aid to the people who need it most.
But these are the...
Did you hear what she was saying? I want you guys to understand. Take a listen to this clip again and listen specifically in terms of what states she's calling out. Take a listen.
FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have.
Oh,
and
Margaret,
in their arsenal. And
I wish
how
that they...
will states who are lower income states, the Mississippis, the Kentuckys, the Alabamas, be able to do this for themselves without federal help?
Well, the president, to be clear, is not saying we're going to leave anybody behind. He's saying that in the way that we administer these resources, some of which is coming from the federal level, some of which is coming from the state level, we've got to get the bureaucrats out of the way and get the aid to the people who need it most.
But these are the...
So she specifically calls out states like Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky. I got to ask the question. And I mean, I've seen this. I've actually been on the receiving end of this leftist snobbery before. Leftists have this thought process, okay, where she, and she demonstrates it. Seriously, she demonstrates it right here. What she is demonstrating is the fact that she believes that she is better than others. And if you listen to any leftist out there, and I'm being 100% totally serious here, if you listen to any leftist, they all act the same way. Think about this. A leftist believes that they know better than you, the smellies, the uneducated, that, first of all, climate change is 100% real and is affecting us today, so much so that in 12 years, 5 times over, we are going to completely die. That if you listen to the likes of AOC, she says that she knows. She knows better than you. And yet she came from being a bartender up until the point that she got elected to Congress. She has an economics degree, but has absolutely zero idea of how economics actually works in the real world. You sit and you listen to people like, Nancy Pelosi, as an example. Nancy Pelosi, who talks about how Trump never was going to be president, how we had to pass the bill in order to find out what's in it. And it continues even more so than that. And it's not just our elites that are that way, because if you listen to just your average leftist lunatic on the street, like Ari Hoffman, I think is the guy's last name, he went around and went to Berkeley and asked about, hey, do you think that black people can get ID? That they know how to get ID? And just about every single one that they showed, admittedly, but even so, just the mere fact that these people exist, doesn't matter how many there are, but just the fact that these people exist, that they seem to think that, no, I'm a leftist. And I know that, it's hard for a black person to gain access to the internet. Really? It's not that it's not prevalent in just about every major American city on your phone. Which just about everybody has a cell phone. In fact, they became so ubiquitous that the payphone was ripped out of all of these cities in massive amounts of areas. That everybody seems to know how to use Facebook, but they don't know how to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles in states and get a photo ID to drive, to get alcohol, to buy medicine. These people, and don't forget the queen of this leftist snobbery, who ironically actually came from Arkansas herself, where she says the deplorables, flyover country, meaning the center of the country. See, these coastal elites, and it's not just them, but they represent a very large portion of these people. These coastal elites seem to believe that just because you do not live in the cities with them, because you do not live in their high rises, because you do not subscribe to the idea that God doesn't exist and that man is the master of his own destiny. Their own. GETR. I don't even know what necessarily to call it, because apparently, according to all these leftist lunatics, there's more than 387,000 plus genders across the board. Folks, these people have been taught from a very early age that they are better than anyone else. And especially they are better than anyone who lives in a rural area. Now, I can tell you this much. I am not a full-on country individual. Okay, I was born in a suburban neighborhood. I spent a lot of my time growing up in suburbia. But at the same time, though, I also had a longing to live in places where there weren't that many people. And when you go to do that, you have to become resourceful. upon yourself. You have to be dependent upon yourself. You have to be dependent upon your own mind, your own abilities, your own skills. And I got to tell you, I've spent time with a lot of people out in the country, and they figure out ways to do things with less people and an intelligence that these people in the city would have zero idea how to get by without this stuff. All you have to do is walk in and you look at even our younger generation in some cases. All you have to do is walk in and take a look at a place where, you know, the computer goes out. Most of these younger kids these days, because of the special math that they are being presented, they can't even handle making simple change from a dollar bill into coins. They have to have a computer that would tell them how much to give back. Most people wouldn't even know how to look at an analog clock these days and be able to read the time. And, Lord forbid, if you go and say to someone, you know what, I do not have a college degree, because that alone seems to set these people on fire. They seem to believe that education equates to intelligence, and I am guaranteeing you right now that is not the case. Education does not equate to intelligence. What education, especially in today's day and age, is that everyone who has been educated in today's day and age is more than likely indoctrinated. It's the people who are out on their own, doing their own thing, being able to support themselves, take care of themselves in the best way that they can, and making do with whatever that they have. Those people are the smart ones. They're the good ones. They're the ones who are able to survive conditions that most people who live in these ivory towers of academia would have literally zero idea of how to survive or how to live without all of these special products and services. I know people who wouldn't even know how to lift a wrench to fix something. And what do? They have to go and hire somebody without the college degree to come in and be the plumber, to be the electrician, to be the HVAC repair guy, because their heat pump died and turned their house into a sweltering hothouse in the summertime, or their furnace died and they had to bring in a person because they couldn't figure it out for themselves. Now, I'm not necessarily looking down on anyone who doesn't have a college degree or has a college degree, because that's not my way. See, there's different strokes for different folks. There's different things that people are interested in. And some people can't accept the fact that there are differentiators out there, that there are people who are highly intelligent and who have never really been able to embrace the school systems, the public school systems that we have. There are people out there who don't necessarily fit within the mold of society, and so they have taken a different route. And by doing so, these coastal elites, let's say, will look down upon them for that kind of activity. But what people don't understand is it's those kinds of people who actually make the world run. Who actually make the world run. And it's those types of people who turn their noses up at the rest of us, because I'm going to be down there too. Turn their noses up at the rest of us and think that just because we don't have a PhD or that we don't live in a nice house, or we don't drive the most fanciest car, or that we don't wear the designer clothes, or that we don't subscribe to the same ideas that the rest of these lunatics do, and that we believe in God, that we believe in our Constitution, that we believe in our ability to defend ourselves through superior firepower, and that we believe in this wonderful place that we call America and home. And that's going to make us inferior to you? I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. And see, this right now, honestly, is the revelation that I believe a majority of Americans today are starting to realize, is that these people, the media, the leftists, the politicians, the reportedly upper echelons over in Hollywood, that all of these people believe that just because they have their own inflated ego and status, okay, their own inflated ego and status, that they are better than everyone else. They're not. And it's reflected in all of their language. It's reflected in how they interact with you on social media, online. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I've run across accounts that claim to have PhDs, and I'm a doctor, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm so on and so forth, and yet they say some of the most stupidest things. And they post it thinking that they are right. They're not. And I especially love it when the Northerners believe that just because somebody has a Southern drawl, talks a little slower, may not say as much, and uses fewer words to say what is important, is stupid. Because that individual, I'm going to tell you, is probably a lot smarter than what you give them credit for. A lot craftier. And definitely a lot better at survival than you. And this is going to, chances are this is going to continue. I mean, it's currently being exposed everywhere, but this is going to continue so much longer. Yeah. So anyway, with regards to the FEMA aspect of this, J.D. Vance is right. J.D. Vance is totally correct. While FEMA may have experts in certain fields, they are not experts at that particular geographical area. And they are not experts at what a particular group of individuals, for an example, they may not know how and what Florida needs to have in the wake of a hurricane. They may not know what Appalachia needs in the wake of a hurricane or whatever. They may not know what needs to occur in LA after a fire, because most of them have probably never experienced it. So JD Vance is correct, and these politicians are like, well, the rules state. No, throw the rules out. Throw the rules out. Get them the money that they need. Get them supplies. Get them services. Help them in ways that will make a difference. Don't come there thinking that you're just going to hand out $750 to people who have lost everything. Not to mention the fact that FEMA itself is not a constitutionally mandated responsibility of the federal government. That all of that was supposed to be state and locally managed. The states were to handle the interior. The federal government was to handle everything else outside. And that's just the way it was. That's the way it's supposed to be. But yeah, anyway. But it just kind of got me. I didn't even really think about it, but that little clip kind of got me because I know several people who are sharp as a tack, sharp as a knife, properly honed, and yet they dress in overalls and they wear grease-stained baseball caps or any other number of different things. They have dirt on their boots, dirt under their fingernails. They chew. They spit. They have a southern drawl. They are highly intelligent once you get to know them. They know ways to fix things and get things done that a city folk would have no idea how to handle it at all. All right. Let me go ahead and just throw in another promo spot just because of the fact that these guys, I got to get this out. I got to get this out there. TGRN, True Grit Roots Network, TGRN.net is our home on the web, and we have just launched the Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio Channel. Yes, this is taking the place of TGRN Blues, but this is now a signature channel. Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio is live, started yesterday. You got to go and check this out. I'm telling you, I heard some AC/DC today from the Back in Black album. I've heard many other hard rocking artists and hits that you would absolutely love. Go to tgrn.net, take a listen right through your browser, or you can download our app directly from that site on both the Google Play Store and the App Store for iOS. Also, too, if you already have the Live 365, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey, AUDACY apps, you can find us in their catalog of digital radio stations. Come and check us out. That's Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio, exclusively by TGRN, True Grit Roots Network, based out of Austin, Texas. And I've got to pick the right button. There we go. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, Trump's new press secretary. Let's see what, Caroline Levitt. Caroline Levitt gave her first press briefing today. And she announced, which this is really cool and actually is reflective of exactly where we need to be going. This in the Daily Wire. Trump admin welcomes new media to the White House press corps. Now, for those of you that don't know, the White House press corps has typically been flooded with mainstream media. They obviously, I mean, if you look at any of them, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, all of the standards, the New York Times, all of those standard publications and press outlets, they're all failing because they decided to hitch their wagon to the leftist agenda and not actually report news and journalism. Well, thankfully, Trump and his new press secretary, they are moving away from the standard media outlets. And the reason being, of course, is because, according to recent polling from Gallup, Americans' trust in mass media has fallen to a record low. So, Levitt announced that the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who are seated in this room, because according to that recent polling, blah, blah, blah. She continues and says millions of Americans, especially young people, have turned from traditional television outlets and newspapers to consume their news from podcasts, blogs, social media, and other independent outlets. She continued, it's essential to our team that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt this White House to the new media landscape in 2025. You know, I kind of wonder if I should maybe reach out to them and see if I can get in there. Interested in joining? They've got a press thing for those of you on the audio portion of the program. The White House has got a this must be on whitehouse.gov, but they apparently have this web page that says, interested in joining a future White House press briefing? Share your information below. I'm wondering if I maybe ought to do that. Take a trip and pretend that I'm in the press. Yeah. Anyway. So her announcement, of course, coincides with the slate of new outlets gaining representation in the press briefing room under Trump, including the Daily Wire itself. And they hired a White House correspondent, Mary Margaret Olahan. Or Olahan. I think it's Olahan. Anyway, Levitt announced that the Trump White House would restore the media credentials of 440 journalists whose access was stripped from them by the previous Biden administration. In addition, the press secretary would be devoting a seat in the front row of the briefing room, usually occupied by press secretary staff, to new media who apply and are accepted to join the White House press corps. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators, which is what I am, to apply for credentials to cover this White House. Now, could you just imagine me sitting there you've seen my spangly, my red, white, and blue spangly suit coat. I wore it for I wore it for the election. But could you just see me sitting there with my hat, that jacket, one of my wonderful ties that I have that show the Constitution of the United States or the flag or whatever? Could you just imagine that? Me sitting there in the press? I mean, boy. I don't know. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should. I'll think about it. I'll definitely consider it. Because that would be kind of fun to go in there just to be, get my own little 15 minutes of fame. Anyway. So that's pretty cool that they're doing that. They really should actually get rid of all of the old mainstream medias and just, blow them all out and put in nothing but independent creators and content creators and podcasters and so on and so forth. But anyway, I digress. All right. Well, the White House has kicked over another one of the leftist hornets' nests. They paused federal grants and loans today. This from the Epoch Times. Some lawmakers from the Democrat Party have called on the Office of Management and Budget to reverse that memo. So the OMB directed federal agencies in a memorandum today to suspend the distribution of grants, loans, and other financial assistance while the programs themselves are under review. A memo from OMB Acting Director Matthew Vaith directs federal agencies to conduct a comprehensive analysis of all financial assistance programs to determine whether they are aligned with the executive orders signed by President Donald Trump after his inauguration on January 20th. In the interim, to the extent permissible under applicable law, federal agencies must temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance and other relevant agency activities that may be implicated by the executive orders, including but not limited to the financial assistance for foreign aid, non-governmental organizations, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal, it stated. Yeah. Well, it wasn't just the federal grants and loans that were also paused. Government also put on a federal freeze of financial assistance, but that financial assistance, of course, gave exceptions for Social Security and Medicare payments. Yeah. So this is all part of the same thing. But the loan exceptions, of course, that they have were added to a footnote on the directive, which is kind of interesting that the footnote is down there. Oh, it looks like my Rumble feed is gone. What the heck happened? Huh. That's interesting. Let me see. What, well, Restream is working fine. Well, that's interesting. I don't know, maybe refresh. There should be a refresh in there. Let's see. If I refresh, things are good. That's just Rumble, though. Yeah. Oh, no. No, it's something going directly to Rumble. That's kind of interesting. Oh, wait a minute. Are we up? Nope, it's skipping. Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's a Rumble thing, folks. At least I'm fairly certain it's a Rumble thing. Let me try killing this. See if that gets me back up. Sending data. Let's see if that helps. Anyway, yeah, I see it. I see it, guys. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and continue here. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you here. I don't know what's going on. Huh. Come on, kick it up here. Nope, I'm not stuck. I promise, I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck. Hi. There we go. Wave. All right. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, I shouldn't be stuck. I just waved at you. So anyway, all right. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened to Rumble. Excuse me. But anyway, let's move on. So while the memo addressed Medicare and Social Security, it makes no mention of Medicaid. Now, ironically, Medicaid had a problem with their website today, which was kind of interesting. But of course, immediately right after this happened, a judge jumped in and temporarily blocked. Trump's plan to freeze it. So the judge ordered a brief administrative stay on portions of the freeze. So anyway, as per usual, that seems to be a bit of the problem there. So, the judge went ahead and blocked it, and they have an administrative freeze on that particular EO. And this was, of course, just hours after advocacy groups and several Democratic state attorneys general filed lawsuits against the administration. I'm telling you, this administration is going to be one of those that is constantly going to be in the court system. And I'm fairly certain that's going to be the case because of the fact that, where's this at? Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. So Rumble, I don't know. Did Rumble come back? Let me just see. Yeah, it looks like Rumble might be back. I don't know. Let's see. I'm looking. It says that I'm live. I'm not catching up, I don't think. I was typing at that point. Let's see. Yeah, other streams are being funky. Okay. So it's not just mine then, I guess. All right. So anyway, yeah. There is a judge, Lauren Alakan, had granted a brief administrative stay ordering the Trump administration to refrain from blocking open awards or funds that have already been slated for disbursement until at least February 3rd. She made her temporary ruling after hastily scheduling a video conference 1 hour before the freeze was to take effect at 5 p.m. this evening. So the judge said that the ruling will maintain the status quo and does not prevent the Trump administration from suspending funds for new programs, nor does it require resuming expired funding. So they blocked it a little bit. But yeah. And it looks like Rumble is still having some challenges. So apologize for that. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. Yeah, I came back only for a moment, they say. Okay, well, my apologies on that. I don't know what's going on at Rumble, but apparently it's not just me, it's other places too. And it is only Rumble that's having the problem as well. So all right. So the Senate has confirmed a couple other people as a part of Donald Trump's administration, which is a good thing. First one was, of course, the Senate has confirmed Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary. He was confirmed with a 68-29 vote there. And so, yeah. Now, what's interesting about this is there's a report that there was a man who was arrested shortly after Bessent was confirmed, who was attempting to try to get to Bessent and harm him in some way. I didn't see the entire report, but I did catch that as a headline. So, you know, obviously facts are not in full evidence there. But yeah, so anybody, so it looks like X and Facebook are good. Yeah. Okay. So, we'll just see what, anyway. So, so that got confirmed. He got confirmed. Now he's some sort of a billionaire. He's a billionaire investor. And he is going to be spearheading, this is all out of the Epic Times, spearheading Trump's plan of cutting taxes and curbing deficits while putting forth a tariff plan that also facilitates growth. So now Bessent has said that the U.S. faces economic calamity if Congress does not renew key provisions from the Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, you recall that Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act actually cut taxes for literally everyone across the board, with the biggest beneficiary of that cut being the middle class. Far be it from the leftist lunatics like Elizabeth Warren, who seem to think that Trump is only going to cut taxes for his billionaires. And speaking of cutting taxes, Trump actually floated this idea in Las Vegas, was just getting rid of taxes altogether and just focusing directly on tariffs as the vehicle with which the federal government gains its money. Now, that would be sort of interesting to basically swap income tax for tariffs, which goes back to, historically, it goes back to where we originally started with our gathering of taxes. It was tariffs primarily and trade taxes that drove and ran most of our country, the majority of our country's federal income prior to the prior to the idea in the 16th Amendment of, I'm crying too, Kat. Prior to the 16th Amendment being ratified and creating the income tax, however so derived, which that phrase is actually in the 16th Amendment. But anyway, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see if all of this is going to make a difference in the long run with regards to this. So, we'll have to see what he does. It would, like I said, it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see what happens with all of this. And we'll eventually have to see what happens with all of the situation. All right. One last confirmation hit just before I came online or on air tonight. And that would be the Senate confirmed Sean Duffy to lead the Department of Transportation. And just so everybody knows, even though I'm about ready to end, Rumble is back, it looks like. Don't know how stable it is, but it is back over there. So the Senate confirmed Sean Duffy to lead the Department of Transportation. But literally anything is going to be better than Pete Buttigieg, or whatever his name is, But anyway, they confirmed him. He was a former representative from Wisconsin to be the next transportation secretary. This is in the Hill, by the way. Putting him in place to lead a sprawling agency that oversees air travel, highways, pipelines, and railroads. That particular cabinet nominee received bipartisan backing and was confirmed with a 77 to 22 vote. Duffy was expected to easily clear the voting threshold. He was unanimously advanced out of the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee with a 28-0 vote last week, and in a unanimous procedural vote on the Senate floor Monday evening. The former five-term congressman will take over an agency that has more than 55,000 employees and a budget of more than $100 billion. So, yeah. And he told senators during his confirmation hearing earlier this month that he would focus on improving aviation and highway safety. And he's a former lobbyist, according to The Hill here, and also said that he would work to tackle the air traffic controller shortage to help restore trust in Boeing, in particular, among the public, as the plane manufacturing behemoth has dealt with several safety incidences back in 2024. So there you go. Looks like he's got a lot more of a background, a proper background than Buttigieg did. So he obviously, starting off, is going to have a much better time with leading that particular agency. All right, folks, sorry about the technical difficulties over on Rumble. I still prefer it over others, just because they don't do a lot of the censorship that the others do. But do me a favor, just go ahead and get yourself an account over there. It is free. Just head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account, sign up, sign in, and find and follow the American Perspective channel so you get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up and everything. And we will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time for Whiskey Wednesday. And hey, last minute shout out, if you have one, get your pet in for Pet of the Week. Otherwise, I may have to make something up. But anyway, get your pet in for Pet of the Week. You can do that by sending it in to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. And like I said, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. And again, sorry about the technical issues, but yeah, sometimes it happens. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.